Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey Podcast, the podcast where me and my brother normally do a podcast talking about the National League, but he is not here again. He is in Japan, and we are joined by Dan. Obviously, he's here every week. And Dad, you've joined us again, and you give us
Yeah.
all the idea of wearing the Oktoberfest hats. So,
They're not just for one game, they're for life, these hats are.
yeah, shout out the Swindon Wildcats for giving out some hats. Dan, you've got yours, Dad, you got yours, and then Mum got her own one, so I'm wearing that one. But yeah, it was a really good weekend. I think I was one of the best weekends, I think, like game experiences. So shout out to the Swindon Wildcats for that. But yeah, it's been we finally got some news. We got some news stories. Last week we said we were lacking some. But there has been some news out of Telford, and I don't like to say that I've called it, but last week I did mention I would not be surprised, and I said I didn't like talking
Mm.
about it, but I would not be surprised if those changes. And Tom Watkins has made some changes to the team. Now, the first bit, actually, before we get into the changes, Dad, you watched the stream on Friday, didn't you? The
Yeah,
Sheffield game and Yokoyama got not Yokoyama, sorry, Devon Skaleski
yeah,
got a knee to knee with Henry
yeah,
Adams, and he had to
yeah,
go off the ice, didn't he? And he missed the rest of the game.
yeah. That was really early on in the game, actually. I think it was within the first 5 minutes. Yeah, it looked. It didn't look too clever, to be fair. And I think subsequent reports have verified that his knee was really badly swollen. So, yeah, really painful. Really
Yeah,
painful.
it's a tough one because he was probably Dan their best
Mm,
forward or most informed forward up to that point, up to that weekend. And obviously them knowing that they've got three games without him then, because it was, as you said, Dad, it was right at the start of that Sheffield game away on the
yeah,
Friday, and then they had two more games after that. Getting your main import out with an injury. We'll obviously go into the game in a bit, but from what Telford said, it didn't look too great in terms of him having to go for scans and tests, and he had to
mm,
go to the hospital in Sheffield. So that is a very, very big loss. And obviously, it was backed up today um, with some more news. Yokoyama Dan, he was the talk of us actually at the start of the weekend. Where obviously we always talk about hockey, and we were saying, is there going to be changes with the imports? Is Tom Watkins going to change things around? And Zach Yokoyama was released today by the Telford
mm.
Tigers. He played his last weekend. It was probably his best weekend, which is
Yeah,
quite ironic actually. Because I'll be honest, I was saying I think changes need to be made. You've seen how high quality the imports have been in this league, with the players which have been brought in this season. And yeah, Zach Yokoyama, we spoke before the season. He was always a punt, wasn't he? You didn't 100% know exactly what he was going to bring at the national level because he'd played in the league below. And don't get me
mm.
wrong, he'd done really well in the league below. He'd averaged, I think, just shy of 2 points a game. But it was always a risk coming into it, wasn't it, Dan?
Yeah, it was always going to be a risk, and I think obviously a lot of people were talking about him as well when he was coming into the league. Um, and I think for himself as well, that sort of affected him because obviously it's a big step up for him, and he knows how well he's done in the league below, and now he's got his chance to sort of show it at a higher level.
Yeah.
And obviously coming into this Telford team, it's not the biggest in strength, like the quality of team. So he's come into this as an import as well. And obviously,
Responsibility.
in this league, the imports are the guys that people look at, and they're the team is there to look at those imports. So you're sort of coming in from a lower league, going into this league, and you're becoming an import in this league as well. So, and the quality of import has gone up. We've said that, and it will keep going up. So yeah, I think I don't know if it was sort of wrong time for him, or I think he
Yeah.
might need if he was a Brit, I think there would be no
Oh,
question to keep him. But it's just because he's got that import name above his head that the standard of what the import is not up to that standard.
as you said, he'd be the perfect Brit. We see. I'm not actually sure why he's not classed as a Brit because he's played the last 3 seasons. I'm not sure what you have to do to class because he is a dual
Well, I
nationality.
think it's you only get dual nationality if you train in England
In
or something
England,
like
and he
that.
didn't. He did. He come
Yeah,
over to England, didn't he?
yeah,
So yeah, it's a shame because a dual. If he was a Brit, they then get to stack on another import, and
yeah,
Yokoyama will
yeah,
get your point per game for a Brit,
yeah,
which is very good. But as you said, I do think he's the thing I sympathise with him about Dad is Telford just haven't done great as a team to start the
no,
season, and
no,
he's
no,
unfortunately, because of how much responsibility the imports take, how much weight they take, he was the guy who they kind of had to let go to
yeah,
try and upgrade. Because he
yeah,
was always going to be the risk out of the three imports. You know, you're getting goals from Luca. You know that
yeah.
this Skaleski, he's got a really good CV, and he could see that he was the best of the three. And
Mm,
Zachary was kind of a punt kind of thing. With
mm,
you'd assume he'd be a lower end budget import as well, and
mm,
it just
mm.
something had to change. It has to, doesn't it?
It is. It's one of those where you don't really want to do it. I suppose it's a job for him,
Yeah,
etc. So, but ironically, again, the irony of it is he got injured in that game against Sheffield, and Telford went on to win it without him.
yeah.
So, there is an element of irony of it. But like all the players that move on, we wish him the best. That he gets something something come his way so that he can continue his hockey career. And as you say, he probably had a pretty good weekend. Sorry, not him. It wasn't Yokohama, was it? It's Selesky. But
We're talking about Yokoyama.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, yeah. So
But yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
ironic he had his best weekend
yeah,
this weekend, and then and then he gets. I think Tom
yeah.
probably knew that he. We don't like to speculate, but he probably knew that he was going to move on. I don't know if people could take us seriously with our hats on, but we're going to keep him on anyways. Um, but but yeah, I think he bowed out on a good time.
Yeah,
I think he
yeah,
still can sign for a decent level
yeah,
in a league. I just think it is purely that the standard's gone up
yeah,
so high, and we'll get into it now. Telford have
yeah,
brought in two new Canadian imports, who have also, from what we've seen, not quite fit in that Polish
yeah.
team, their most recent team. And looking at the article about them, both Canadians, David Thompson and Eric Henderson. And Dan, I know we CVs are all we can go off, but they have got very good CVs for our
Mm,
league. The,
Mm.
David Thompson 40 points in 27 U Sports games in one
mm,
season. I think that is some of the most points I've seen in a U Sports season for an import player. So I know that was 3, 4 years ago, but if he can replicate like some of the other imports we've seen at that level, in the U Sports, if he can do that at the National League level, like we've seen some of them do, he should be able to pick up the points for
mm,
Telford.
Yeah, he should definitely be able to do a job. Obviously, coming in from a very, very high level, obviously youth sports league as well, and
Yeah.
like you say, obviously getting really good points. And yeah, I don't think we have seen a guy that sort of produces that
mm,
many points in that league. Um, Obviously they've gone to the Polish league and it's not worked out. So they're sort of going to be for themselves as well. They're going to sort of be pushing themselves as well, sort
Yeah.
of get their career back, if you know what I mean. They don't want to be sort of set back by that, and they want to come over to England and obviously make a statement for
mm,
themselves. And
Yeah.
I think definitely grabbing both players at the same time from the same team is definitely going to be a positive because
yeah,
they're going to be able to grow with each other, and obviously they're going to be carry over what they already have together as well. So
Yeah.
there's not so much two brand new imports obviously don't know each other and sort of coming into a
mm,
struggling team. They've already got that sort of partnership already.
Yeah, after looking at both of them, if I had to make assumptions, so you've got David Thompson, 27 years old,
mm,
centerman, who knows where the back of the net is. He knows how to pick up points. And then you've got Eric Henderson, 26-year-old. He's a winger. Listen to this, Dad. He's played in the OHL in his junior.
yeah,
He played with some NHL players now. Dan, you obviously know Mitch Marner
mm,
quite well, being a Leafs fan. But Mitch Marner, Bouchard,
yeah,
Kachuk, who just won the
mm,
Stanley Cup. He's played next. Bouchard's one of my favourite ice hockey players, and he's played on the same team as him at the London Knights. So Eric Henderson seems like he's one of them players who's got the experience. He may not put up as much points
mm.
as David Thompson, but I think it's you've got quite a good little pair in there to bring in.
You have. I think again, it's just a marker for the other teams now. You're not quite sure what you're going to get now with Telford
No.
after their start. So I think they've switched it up. Um, And yeah, there's a fair bit of pressure on these boys, but I think their credentials are pretty good on their CV. So you know it's going to be interesting. Did it say when they come in? Do they come straight
Mm,
in?
I assume they might be playing this weekend,
Might be
actually.
playing this weekend. I mean, that'd be an absolute cracker.
Yeah.
Um, and it'd be good for Telford when they're playing at home. I think that'd be a good boost for the home crowd as well. But yeah, you don't know what you're going to get with Telford now. So
Yeah.
yeah, good on them.
And they could try and build momentum off this
Yeah,
weekend. Obviously, we'll go into that in a bit.
yeah,
But yeah, anything else to add really down on that? Obviously, we don't really know until we've seen them play
mm,
and see how they fit into Telford. But
mm,
I think the point I made to you and Charlie in the chat is they know each other. It's not like they've
yeah,
just signed two random
yeah,
imports. They've come from the same team. They know their play styles. So if you do play them on a line together, at least they'll have that little bit of chemistry. And
yeah,
I would say that the National League is a very high point scoring league compared to some of the European
yeah.
leagues. They might not have got as much points in the Polish league, but they're going to get points in the national. Like it's a point scoring league, isn't it?
Yeah, and obviously the thing that I was going to add as well, obviously playing in Poland, I'm guessing they probably already have their visa biz of that,
Yeah,
obviously,
Yeah,
so they'll be able to come straight in. And yeah, I think bringing in new blood to the team can boost the whole team in itself. So bringing in a bit of new sort of new life into the dressing room. Obviously, they've had a tough start.
yeah,
They've made a change, and now the players are like, right, we've got two new guys in. Let's just all build together now. Let's start showing what we can actually do
mm,
because Telford know they can do better than they're doing, and we
yeah,
know Telford can do better than they're doing. And it's just all about coming together. And I think sort of what happened to Skaleski as well. Obviously, I know you don't
yeah,
want to talk about it, but that can push him as well. Like, come on, let's just do it for
yeah.
Skaleski. Let's
yeah.
sort of just all come together now and just sort of push for this bit and
It's
just
interesting.
really get a run going because they can definitely
Mm,
do it.
It's interesting with Skaleski. I don't like to assume things, but if they've brought in two imports and you've got Luca,
Something.
you'd
Yeah,
probably think that Skaleski is sadly going to be out for quite a while, which is unfortunate because I actually
mm,
thought he was picking it up a lot and he was getting used to the league.
yeah,
Um, so it'd be interesting if Skaleski does come back before the season ends, or whether he's just going to
mm,
go back home. Because I know some players, if they get injured, they want to be home with their family and stuff like that. So we
And
wish,
they probably also get surgery back home as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Obviously,
yeah,
so
yeah,
Yeah, we wish Skaleski all the best. It's never
yeah,
nice to get an injury where in a country where you're not actually from as well. So hopefully he recovers
mm,
quickly and it's not as bad as it first seemed. So yeah, that's the Telford news. We said there'd be changes and there was changes, and I think it's exciting, as you said, Dad. Telford
mm,
fans, you got two new guys coming into your roster who've got some really good CVs. If I was a Telford fan, I'd be buzzing. You've come off the back of a good weekend, and you've got two new guys to come in into a team which is only going to bring the morale up as well. So
yeah,
exciting times for Telford. It was also announced today that Josh Hodgkinson has liked playing in Hull, so he signed a full time deal with them.
yeah,
Trying to work around his other job which he's got. But the fact that they've got another D man in Dad, and that's probably
mm,
probably the area which you would have said maybe Hull could upgrade on. Well, Josh Hodgkinson's got some NIHL experience, and getting him on a full time is a nice little bit of business from Hull.
yeah. It just strengthens the squad again, doesn't it? And there's that consistency. So
Yeah.
there's no question now. He's there for the season, fit in, and start working as a team now with him. Yeah.
Yeah, we went through the D pairings now, Dan, and you've got a
Mm,
bit of competitiveness once obviously Davy Phillips is back. Oh no, he is back now,
mm,
isn't he? He served
mm,
his ban, so he'll be back this weekend. So you've got some competitive between them because obviously got Cohen Taylor coming in,
mm,
coming up as well. So bit fighting for some roles, which is only going to do their defense much better. But yeah, Josh Hodgkinson, so he's not fully with the team until the 30th of November, I think. So they do have to wait a month for him. But then he will be with the team working around his other job as well. The only other bit of news is kind of old news now because all the bans are up. Davy Phillips, obviously, we spoke about last week.
mm,
That's up. Kieran Brown got a two-game ban. That is now up
mm,
because he can play next weekend. And then Svet got a game, but he was back in the second game this weekend. So
mm.
Yeah, we kind of the dots seem to come out on the Thursdays now, so yeah, we'll have to pick up on them when we can. But yeah, no ban updates. Let's crack into the games then because I watched three games this weekend. And we'll start with the Friday games because Dad, you watched the stream for the
Yeah.
Sheffield game. I was in Milton Keynes. We'll start with the Sheffield game. Um, oh, we said that's fall off bed. We said the Tigers. This was a big weekend for
Yeah.
them. Three
Yeah.
games. They need to get at least one win, and you win the first game in overtime. Talk us
Yeah.
through the game, Dad.
Yeah, it was good. I think big ice as well in Sheffield for the Telford boys, and they started off really well, really competitive. They almost sort of dictated in some ways the pace of the game to start with, and took that 2-0 lead. I always thought, looking at the game, as Sheffield started to build, they were going to come back into the game, and then they started to hem Telford in their own half,
Yeah,
and slowly came back. And when it got to 3-3, so they went 3-1 up. Then when they got it to 3-3 in the third period, Sheffield were dominant, absolutely dominant. They had hemmed Telford in, and there was some heroics from the D and Day in goal. So yeah, and I just thought it's just a matter of time before Sheffield go on and take the victory, and they held out. Incredible performance really in that final 10 minutes of the third period. They were backs against the wall, and then overtime again. You felt that they were a little bit drained of energy against Sheffield, and they were just piling on the pressure, and then just a little slip up in overtime, and Mitchell King snipes it in for Telford. What a fantastic victory! And I didn't think it was going to come. I thought Sheffield were going to go on and do it, and they got a lot of firepower. But Day was excellent, and the D supported him, making sure that he could see the puck. So
yeah. You mentioned
yeah,
Day.
good to
That
see
is
boy.
that's his best game he's
Yeah,
had in the Telford
yeah,
shirt this season.
yeah,
48 shots he had on him. He saved
yeah,
45, a 9-3
yeah,
save percentage. Dan, it must be said,
yeah.
and he'll know it himself. He's had a tough season, hasn't he, Brad Day?
Mm-hmm.
And it's obviously going to be tough when the D changes in front of you. It was a change up this season with the D. They finally got
Mm,
Dan Rose back, which is a very big positive for them, but they've been missing him massively. But we know what Brad Day can do when he's on it, and that game he was on it. 45 saves out of 48, and Dad, it sounds like he did kind of win him the game, saving those big chances, and the D
yeah,
protected it.
yeah, certainly did. Absolutely, he did. That was his game there. And Telford, when they had the chances, they took them.
Yeah,
They took them.
they were
Whereas
clinical.
Sheffield, they had lots of shots, but just couldn't bury it.
Yeah, they only had
So,
28 shots,
yeah,
so they were clinical. But yeah, 4-3 overtime win. Mitchell King pulling out the stocks with that overtime
mm,
winner. I have seen it, top right corner,
yeah, lovely
slight near
shot.
post. It's a lovely finish, and it's a tough loss for Sheffield, isn't it, Dan? They've
Mm,
lost a couple at home now. In fact, no, they've lost three at home. Three out of their four games, I think, they've lost at home in the league. Obviously, Bristol, Romford last week, and Telford this week, but. It must be said, they've had 48 shots tonight. They
yeah,
had 55 against Romford. It's just a matter of time before it starts clicking and they'll pile on
yeah,
the goals, isn't it, at home?
Yeah, it just seems every time they played at home, the other goalie seems to be having a blinder. Um, I mean, we've always said it. Obviously, the goalies do win you games when they're on it, and
Yeah.
I think when the goalies are on it, like Day was, like James was,
mm,
obviously like De La Batouche was, um, you just have to let them see the shots, and they're going to save it. And I think obviously Sheffield do have that firepower. Like we
mm,
said, their lines are looking very good now. Bjorky Nordstrom is back.
mm,
That's huge. But yeah, it is just a matter of time. They're just going to keep that zone pressure up. They're going to keep the pressure, keep the
mm,
shots on, and they will go in. Like
mm,
you can't save everything, and I think I think they're going to be working on probably having more of those sort of grade A shots instead of
Yeah.
just having those shots on goal.
mm,
Just sort of taking a little bit more time and getting that guy
yeah,
just open or getting into the slot. just for those grade A shots, and then
Yeah,
they'll
because
really start to see him coming.
they've got the biggest ice in the league, the biggest zone. They need to make that home
Need to work
theirs. They need,
like MK do.
yeah,
MK
Yeah.
use their zone perfectly, and Sheffield need to do that. Now they've got that skill, those skilled players,
Yeah.
and obviously you've
Yeah.
got the players who can do that, especially on the power plays, etc. They just need to look for that open man. This sort of,
Yeah.
and we know Tremblay, he's got an unbelievable shot. He's got a
Mm.
really good one timer. Find him open. Obviously, you got Halford's really skillful, can carry the puck round. Obviously, Sommer as well, all their
Mm.
imports.
yeah.
And yeah,
It's just about the
it's just
new
all
guys
about
clicking, really, as well.
yeah, it's just all about getting those grade A chances and just really making the teams pay for giving them that
Mm.
much offensive pressure.
Yeah, it did go for them on Sunday, which we'll talk about.
Mm.
The other game I went to, travelled down to MK. I did expect a comfortable Milton Keynes win, and for the first two periods, it certainly was very comfortable. They had 42 shots across the first two periods. They went 6-0 up. Some really nice goals actually from Milton Keynes. I want to shout out Tyler Batouche. There was a positive and maybe a bit of naughty behaviour from him as well. But the positives was I thought it was fantastic. Obviously, Bristol had a three-game weekend. You expected Tyler to play one of them because you can't make Napier play all three games. And we said before the weekend, Dan, if there was a game which you're going to rest Nappy, it's probably MK because the Bees games are a bit more competitive against each other. So Tyler stepped in, and I have to say, I thought he did an unbelievable job. Out of those 42 shots in the first two periods, I'd probably say 20 to 25 were either one-on-ones or in the slot chances, grade A chances, which you were talking about, Dan. And Tyler made some unreal saves, and the goals which he conceded, you can't really do anything about.
Mm.
You know
Mm.
what Milton Keynes are like, using their big ice, creating those chances. But in the final period, as they did, Milton Keynes, they took their foot off the gas a little bit, and Bristol won the final period 3-0. Bailey Harewood, who just continues to wow me every single weekend I watch him. He is an unbelievable talent.
Mm.
He got two goals, and then he assisted Smetham for the other goal as well. So Bristol did well in that third period to kind of build a bit of momentum, and still prove they can score some goals. A little bit of naughty behaviour, which I did see in the corner of my eye. I couldn't see it too well, but Tyler LaBouche did give Tim Wallace a little tap on the bit that hurts the most. So that was a bit naughty. But what I will say, just from a fan perspective, I don't think Bristol will really care if Milton Keynes appeal it, because Napier is the starter. So Tyler could sit those games out knowing he'd be the backup anyway. But
Mm.
that is quite naughty. It is a bit of a shame because he actually had a
Mm.
really, really good game. So you can't be
Mm.
doing that. But yeah, what was actually even worse was Wallace reacted. He got a 2-minute penalty, and Bristol scored on that power play. So, and then 2,000 MK fans just booing. It was very loud. But to be fair, the refs missed it, and I don't blame them because a lot of other people missed it as
Yeah.
well because it's an off the play thing. But it doesn't matter. Milton Keynes got the win. And yeah, they did really well this weekend, and I think they kind of took the foot off the gas, knowing they
Mm.
had Leeds on the Sunday, and that
Yeah.
was the big game for them. I think Bristol and MK probably knew Milton Keynes were very high likely to win that, and just shouting them out as well. They're 30 games unbeaten at home in a row in the
Mm.
league, which is
Incredible.
that is ridiculous. That is how good they are at home. But yeah, that was the Friday games. And on to the Saturday and another massive game, the biggest test for Romford, and it sounded like it was an absolute corker of a game. Leeds had the Romford Raiders test, and it was
Mm.
2-2 going into the final 5 minutes or final 3 minutes. And Leeds did to Romford what Romford have done to
Romford
other
did go.
teams. They scored a goal. Now, I've actually heard people say that it was offside. I haven't seen it back yet. If it is, that is quite frustrating for Romford. But Leeds, Dan, just showing how much quality they have. Beating Romford away, one of the toughest places to go. They haven't lost there all season, and
Mm.
Leeds just get the job done against those lower teams like they've all done. Well, I say
Yeah,
lower. Romford would joint top, to be fair, but those teams which Leeds have been beating every season.
Yeah, I know. That's just what we know Leeds can do. That's obviously Leeds haven't been. We've said Leeds haven't been the same Leeds as we've seen before. They are beatable this year. But that's just showing what they can do and what they've been doing for the past 2 seasons. Me and Ian were obviously in the corner. We were looking at this game quite a lot. Every stoppage, we were sort of updating it again. And obviously, we saw Romford were winning at one point as well, and we were like, "No way, Romford are going to do this." If they beat Leeds, like that's a really, really big win.
Yeah.
And then it was obviously 2-2, and we were like, "Oh, overtime!" Like we were saying, "Oh yeah, Romford will take that as well." And then we go to the next stoppage, and it's like 4-2, and we're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, what's happened here?" And then we do it again. It's 5-2, and it's like, wow, it's just like that's just what Leeds can do. It's just they they get that bit of momentum again in the last few minutes, and they're like, right, let's kill off the game now. And most teams kill off the game by obviously defending. Leeds kill off the game by scoring goals, and I think Bissonnette was involved in 3 of those goals,
Yeah,
all three,
Bissonnette
or maybe
casually just
two.
getting 3 primary assists.
Yeah, and that's what Bissonnette can do. But yeah, it's just having that's a player like Bissonnette. That's what he's perfect for. That cool, composed guy in a 2-2 game. They're going to look for that open man, just look for that pass, and that's what he's perfect at doing. And obviously, look how it worked out for Leeds in that game.
Yeah, that's his 17th assist of the season. And surprisingly, it's not all been to Brown. Before the season, we said, "Oh, Bissonnette just." It's been Barron and Hayward who
Yeah,
have been getting a
yeah,
lot of the goals this season. But it doesn't matter who it is. Bissonnette's gonna put it on a plate for him. And that's a huge win to Leeds, and that's a statement from Leeds actually. After not criticism, but they haven't quite been at their best. They go and put out a performance against Romford and get 2 points, the first team to beat them. So fair play to Leeds for doing that. Hull Seahawks 8-2 win against the Steel Dogs. Absolutely ruthless from Matty Davies' side. And actually, Matty wasn't even there. He was having surgery. So Wilcox was on the bench. So speedy recovery to Matty. I think it all went well. So hopefully he'll be back on the bench soon. But yeah, Dad, this is what they can do when they're rolling. We know that Sheffield are a much improved team this year, and Hull have dispatched them quite comfortably at home. 8-2. Wow.
yeah. A little derby up north again.
Yeah.
Hull got the better of them pre-season as well, I think. So yeah, that's a statement from Hull. You know, they didn't have the greatest of weekend last weekend, I don't think.
Well,
Um,
they
but
got 2 points against
yeah,
Leeds.
yeah. But yeah, I think that's a massive eight goals again. You know, Sobchak is scoring for fun at the moment, and he's just scoring points for fun. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
You got
yeah,
4 points in that game. One, two, three, four. Yeah,
yeah,
4 points in that game. Josh Hodgkinson actually scored, so that's probably swayed him a bit to re-sign. But
yeah,
yeah, it's a comfortable win. And again, it's another frustrating loss for Sheffield.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
let me looking at their lineup. Did they have no? So they didn't have Ulrich. So Dan, the one thing we said before the season is they are going to be changing the lines a bit because some players are in and out the lineup with this system.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like that's the whole reason that they're doing this sort of pathway thing is they're going to have these guys, and I don't think they can use that as an excuse.
No.
I think these players they're
Yeah.
very talented players, and they come into this team and they're all wanting a shot at the Steelers. Like it's no like there's no hiding it. They're joining this team because of that attraction to the Steelers, and I think all of these players they're obviously they know what they're doing, and I think I think it is just a case of it's a whole new team. Like
Yeah.
having one player at the lineup every night isn't going to make a difference, but it's just having this whole new team this year that's going to it's the biggest change, and I think it's just everyone getting used to everyone and just sort of getting those plays going because it's a whole new bench like coaching team. It's everything. Everything has changed for them, and for these players like Charlie Thompson and Brammer and stuff, and obviously Tate Shooter that was there last year. it's a massive difference to everyone, and
Yeah.
everyone just needs to sort of get on the same page now and just sort of really go for it.
I think that's the main thing we said before the start of the season. We've seen it happen when it's a new team, when there's a
Mm,
lot of new players, because you'd probably say three-quarters of that team is new players coming in,
mm,
new talented players. Don't get me wrong, but you can't expect them just to come in straight away and perform consistently like a Leeds and MK who've been there and got similar teams most seasons, add in a few bits. And don't get me wrong, they can beat anyone on their day, Sheffield.
mm,
They beat us, they put in a really good away performance against us. But I think people had expectations before the season, but it is going to take time naturally for them, and in a couple of seasons' time, well, I dread to think how good they're going to be. So I think
mm,
it is a process, like you said, Dan. But they did get a big win on the Sunday, which we'll go into in a bit. But on to our game, our third weekend of just one game at home, and
mm.
no away game, and there's a lot of goals in it, Dan. I was doing stuff in the streaming room, and I was constantly having to clip up the goals. There's so many coming through. Before we get into the game, Charlie is not here, but he did get this jersey, and I know this jersey has had some mixed feelings across some fans who aren't Swindon fans. Here it is. I absolutely love this jersey. If people are listening on Spotify, they're probably like, "What are they doing?" But um, yeah, I absolutely love the jersey. I think, Dad, it's meant to be a little fun jersey for a
Yep.
special event. I think anyone who's been negative on it needs to liven up a bit, have a bit of fun.
Do you know what? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you look like. It's the result that counts, isn't it?
Yeah.
And do you know what? If anything, it's helped Swindon when they've been playing in
Yeah.
this Oktoberfest. So I say give them back and let them play in it next weekend as well. Um, but do you know what? I think you know, fair play to Swindon. It is about the experience, and and it was a really good fun experience. On Saturday. And you know what? When you have a good experience like that, and you've got events before and afterwards, you sure as hell want to win the game. And Swindon did that, which makes it all the more pleasurable to get involved in the whole event over the weekend.
Yeah, we won both games in the jersey, so we didn't
Yeah,
look like Muppets.
yeah,
But no, it was a really good game actually, Dan. And
mm,
again, it wasn't just the top guys who come out.
no,
It was Dylan Lipsey getting on the score sheet, Sam Bullas getting on the score sheet, Josh Shaw getting on the score sheet, Jay Warren getting on the score sheet
mm.
as well, who I think's been really impressive when he's come in the team. The Depthy guys are getting some big goals for Swindon, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's really good.
Yeah,
I've been mentioning it to you guys. I think Shaw, Lipsy, I think they're having a really good start to the year.
mm,
I said to Ian on Saturday, I said, Shaw, he just needed that goal. Like he got that
mm,
goal early on in the season,
Against
and
Leeds as well.
it's what he's been missing the
mm,
past few years. He's never had that early goal in the year.
Yeah.
It's always
mm,
been like really late coming. And I think now he's got that goal early. I think it's just getting that confidence behind him, and he's shooting a lot more. He's getting into a
mm,
lot more of those positions. He's getting a lot more stuck in. You got Dylan Lipsey getting stuck in as well, and it brings goals. If you get stuck in, get into those dangerous areas, take those shots, you're gonna get goals. And
mm,
I think the third line and obviously
mm,
the more depthy lines have been playing really well for Swindon this year, and I think I mean, we said it, depth is so important, and
mm.
especially in those big games like the playoff games and the cup games, getting those depth scoring is going to be really big. And if they can carry that on through the year, which I'm sure they can, looking at them at the moment, that's going to be so big for Swindon. It's going to be so underrated as well.
Yeah, especially when you've got Aaron and Reed out the lineup, getting
Mm,
those guys coming in, getting the ice time, and producing as well. I think is very very. And Dylan Lipsey, Dad. Last
mm,
year we knew that he was a solid player who come in and he's
mm,
adapted to the men's league. This year he's come in and he's producing now as well. He's getting on the points. He's that first goal. I think we wouldn't have seen that from him last season, but this season he's got into the slot. He's got into that dirty area. It doesn't matter if someone's pushed him around. I think a Scott McKenzie was on
mm,
him, a
mm,
James Smith, but he got in there. He got his stick in there and just flicked it home. It's not the prettiest of goals, But those are the type of goals which can give you your confidence, aren't they?
They are. They seem to have almost they've grown as a player this season. You almost feel physically, I don't know, but
Yeah, no,
physically
no,
they
I agree.
seem to be stronger and almost confidence as well. So put those two together. Physically they're stronger and confidence, and it feels like they're going out onto the ice when it's their shift with Sam Bullas, and they're expecting to do something.
Yeah.
Not just giving the top six a rest. They're actually saying, we're out here to score some goals, and they've been good. They've been good, and I just think the battling they've been doing on the boards as well and working well together. There seems to be a really good vibe with that line, and they really seem to be connecting and working well together. So, yeah, long may it continue. It's a really good start for those boys.
Yeah, and Luke Johnson as well. I know he didn't
Yeah,
get
yeah,
on. Oh, he actually got an assist for Dylan's goal, but
mm,
I know he didn't get on the goals. I think
mm,
he was the one third liner who didn't actually score, but
mm,
he has
mm.
actually been really good at just comforting Josh and Dylan as well.
Yeah, yeah,
For them to just do what they've been doing. So shout out Luke Johnson as well. A couple other shout outs. Jake Britnell, he could have had about eight. He got a hat trick, and
mm,
but he'll probably be annoyed, even though he got a hat trick, because he could have had about eight. And to be fair, Matty Blore made two pretty good one-on-one
mm.
saves in that third period. Dan Wellesley gets his first goal. It was a long time coming. A 4 point night for Ryan Wells, and we've said from this season, the thing that has stood out the most about him has been his defensive impact on the team,
Mm,
just how
mm.
comfortable he is on the puck, being able to break out passes. But I think on Saturday we saw the most of his offensive talent as well in two primary assists, a further assist, and a really nice goal as well. And you could see him laughing after his goal. Because it had been a long time coming. He'd hit the bar about 5 times.
Yeah, no, because I remember I phoned you in the period break and we were like, yeah, he's gonna get our goal
You
tonight.
predicted it. That's back to back weeks now. You've predicted
Mm.
things.
What can I say? I'm a mind reader, aren't I? But yeah, you could just feel it was gonna happen. You knew he's gonna get a goal, and I think I think what Swindon have done this season is you can see it. You've noticed it recently. Is they're overloading the sort of going down low. Like you've had Eddie Bedris going behind the net. You've had Ed Bradley coming into the slot. You've obviously got Wells obviously carrying the puck in, and it's sort of the wingers are doing really well at covering
Yeah.
them, and you're going to have that with like the offensive D men that you've got. But I think it's a really good way of obviously getting the puck back is you're just overloading the crease and overloading.
Yeah.
You're not letting them have any time on the puck.
Yeah,
Like if the wingers are going for a line change, you've got a D men going in for the forecheck, and you've got the wingers covering them.
Mm.
And obviously, defensive players are going to have a good defensive stick anyway, so they're going to be able to get the puck. And obviously, that you're creating that zone pressure again, and you've got a whole new line behind them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So you've been able to switch up the lines while keeping the forecheck on, and you've got the pressure from some really good D men as well. So yeah, I think it's a really. I think they're using. Because a lot of people say offensive D men can be quite a bit of a risk because they do leave gaps. But I think if you're using them in the right way, like Swindon have
Mm.
done, I think is really effective at holding the zone and keeping the pressure on.
I think that's why we've dominated the shots and the amount of pressure we've put on teams.
Mm.
And we've outshot teams every single home game. I think we've had more shots than the opposition.
Mm.
So we're very good
Mm.
in our own rink. And just one last shout out, Jay Warren as well, an absolute
Yeah.
snipe. I don't think I've seen him snipe a puck like that before. So fair play to him for sticking that in the top corner. On to the next game. It was the first of a double header for the Pitbulls and the
Mm.
Bees. And we weren't at this one, obviously, because we were at the Swindon game. We did go on Sunday, but the Bees did get the job done. 4-2 winners in the end.
Mm.
Balaz was on the point scoring sheet. And then I think he might have got an injury because he didn't play on Sunday. Someone said that he got a little knock as well. So hopefully that's not too serious. But I don't know if we could speak too much on the game because we didn't watch it, but just one shout out to
Mm.
Max Wright. Obviously, we know he's been class with saving shots and keeping them out of the net. He did get an assist on Saturday, so we got a
Yeah.
further assist, which is pretty cool. I'm not sure. You might. Someone said to me, "Is he the first goalie to get a point?" I'm not sure if he is. I've got a feeling I think Jordan Marr might have got one. I can't remember,
Yeah.
but yeah. Anyway, he got an assist. But it sounds like he did. He had another good game again in goal. He got a 9.5 save percentage, 40 shots from the pit bulls, and he saved 38 of them, and only
Mm.
26 from the bees. So it sounded like another really good road performance from the Berkshire. Sorry, I had a go. Got
Berkshire.
someone had a go at me for saying that. It's Berkshire bees. So yeah, that's a big 2 points for the bees. We'll talk about the second game in a minute, but the
Mm.
final game on the Saturday, Solway Sharks, Dad, they needed a response. I think they're 4 games winless at home against the Peterborough Phantoms, and they got a really, really, really big win up in Dumfries, 7-2 win over the Phantoms. And I'm sure Jordan Marr would have liked that one as well, obviously playing against his former team and coming out with the win.
Yeah, I mean, again, you look at the league and you look at some of the games that have been played and the scores. It's not just a win;
No.
it's fairly emphatic as well.
Yeah.
A lot of goals scored on their home ice. So yeah, they certainly needed that after last week. So yeah, that gives a bit of confidence, especially at home with the home crowd as well. And I'm sure Jordan Marr would have had a little smile on his face as well with that little victory. But yeah, much needed. Again, you look at Phantoms and you just think, wow, home advantage this season. I know you've said it, Jack, but home advantage is just huge at the moment.
Yeah, it
And
is.
and to get an away win these days, is tough going.
It's a
Really is tough.
proper graft to get an away
Mm,
win.
yeah.
And yeah, Dan, he's back. He's back on the goals. Golan Gardenier, a hat
Yeah.
trick. He'd not scored, I think, in 2 or 3 games, and then he comes back with a hat trick, and he's now the top scorer again in the league. Back to doing what he should be doing, eh, Dan?
Yeah, I know. Well, I was talking to John Strange and just saying, obviously, like probably drop him because he's not doing what an import should be doing, and obviously he's meant to be scoring goals, and that's what he's been doing. But yeah, recently it's just not been good enough. So we were literally packing his bags to go, but and then we were like, we'll give you one more game, and now we're going to keep him. So
Yeah,
we'll
so
keep him in the league for a bit longer now.
he's an unbelievable player. Yeah, hat trick.
Mm.
He's just so good. Right, on to the Sunday, and it is the other Solway game. But this was a must-win, Dad, for Sheffield.
Yeah.
Obviously getting 1 point against Telford, they would have liked to win that. Quite a tough loss to the whole Seahawks, 8-2
Mm.
against Solway coming into the game at home. They don't want to lose 4 home games, and they did get the win. And it was the top guys this time getting the job done. 2 goals from Tremblay, 2 goals from Halfors, and who else but to get a breakaway goal than Morgan Clark Pizzo. So a nice little win for Sheffield to kind of to to to, to remind them that they are still one of those top teams.
Yeah, definitely they have. We've gone through the team before, and there's quality in the team, and I just think it was just you know their previous game this weekend where they lost by so many goals. You just think that just doesn't seem to sit right with the
Yeah,
quality of the squad, and they just turned it on the Sunday. They needed that. I mean, 3 games at the weekend and not getting any points would have just been
yeah, that would have been
that
tough.
that wouldn't have been good. Yeah, so to get 2 points, they needed it. So yeah, they turned it around on the Sunday. I bet there was a bit of pressure as well, a little bit of
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah, especially with
Certainly would.
Solway
But
winning on the Saturday
yeah,
as well, getting a bit of
yeah,
momentum.
yeah,
But yeah,
exactly.
shout out to Halfors. I've seen
Yeah,
one of his goals on Twitter. Wow, he has got some
mm,
skills, hasn't he, Dan? Obviously, saw in the
yeah,
first game. I actually missed it because I went for a wee. So great, but he did a through the legs in the first game, so we knew he had some
Yeah.
skill, but a naughty little dangle and a backhand
Mm.
into the top corner. So a nice win for Sheffield and a nice way for them to end their weekend
Mm.
after quite a tough 3 game weekend. Um, on
Yeah.
to probably the biggest game of the weekend at the top of the top
Mm.
of the table. The Leeds Knights
Yeah.
against the MK Lightning. The MK Lightning
Mm.
they haven't won in Leeds for the last 2
Mm.
seasons. Obviously they did get beat quite comfortably there at the start of the season. Dan, a few weeks in though, MK have
Mm.
slowly got used to each other. They get an absolutely huge 3-2 win after being 2
Yeah.
nil down with 5 minutes to go. That is going to give him loads of confidence going
Gonna
into the
hurt.
Swindon game. Great.
Yeah, no, they're really starting to build that core now. Obviously you've got Gulliver back. It was
Mm,
obviously last year he was out for a lot of the season, and now having him back, obviously it's really made a difference.
mm,
You wouldn't really think it in a team like that because they have got so much quality, but it just shows having a guy like Gulliver how important he really is, and he's getting on the score sheet. He didn't go on the score sheet against the Leeds, but just like in general, he's
He
sort
got
of
the
really
primary
stepped.
assist, to be fair.
Yeah,
So,
he's really stepping it up. Getting Dylan Lawrence back as well, that was really
oh,
yeah,
big. You could see they were sort of missing a guy like him. So obviously getting him back now. So I'm pretty sure they're full strength now. Are they
yeah,
full
yeah,
strength?
full
Yeah. So
strength.
that's even more scary. So that's, but yeah, I mean that's a really big road win. They've really struggled in Leeds, and you almost thought Leeds were going to do it again when, especially when they were 2-0 up as well. Um, but yeah, I mean that's going to be a massive momentum boost for MK. Knowing that they've gone to Leeds, a place where they've struggled for a long
yeah,
time now, probably too long than they would have wanted, and they managed to get that. They've managed to grind out that win. And like Ian said, they wouldn't have done that last year. They
no,
wouldn't have grinded out that win. They would have sharp shop and they would have just been a goal fest again. But they grinded it out. They got that comeback in 5 minutes and they got it to a penalty shootout and won again.
Yeah, I. It sounded like an unreal game, just
mm,
toe to toe with each other. The two, it has to
mm,
be said, the two top teams in the league going at it. I don't think they really need any confidence for their home games, but for away games,
yeah,
knowing that they've done it in
mm,
an away rink now against the best team, they've got Romford away on Friday, which we're going to try and get down to. But that they're going to go into that one now. Okay, we've beaten Leeds. We can beat anyone away now. They're going to go into the Swindon game, who they didn't beat away last season. They're going to go into that
mm,
thinking we can go and win that now. They can go and beat anyone. So it is a massive confidence booster. Sometimes the scrappy goals are the most important ones, and
mm,
that Dylan Lawrence
mm,
goal was one of the scrappiest goals I think I've seen. But hey, a goal's a goal. It gets them to penalty shots. And Tim Wallace, who else? He
Tom,
is cool
mm,
under pressure, isn't he, to get the winning penalties? And we must say, some of those penalties,
great.
Mate.
oh my days, some of those skillful penalties.
Oh,
You've got two of the top goaltenders in Sam Gospel
yeah,
and Jordan Headley, but some of those penalties just tricking them out and putting them into the
yeah,
empty net. You could tell it was two top teams going at it, but MK take the 2 points. Leeds, I don't think will actually be too disappointed. Yes, they've lost the game. They might be a
yeah,
bit annoyed that they haven't won that. Penalties is a lottery, as all the coaches say. But they've only lost 1 point on MK. It's not
mm,
the end of the world. They haven't lost in regulation. We did actually have a chat with Anthony from Banners on the Wall. It is interesting. Do you think the league should be 3 points for a regulation win, but if it goes to overtime and you win in overtime, you only get 2 points? So it's an incentive to win in normal time. But either way, MK got it back
mm.
in the last 20 seconds. So fair play to Milton Keynes. I know their fans are absolutely buzzing for that. Saturday, I cannot wait. We'll talk about it in a minute. Peterborough just showing how good they are at home. 7-4 win against Romford. They were 7-1 up, I do believe, Dad. Obviously,
Mm.
Romford getting a few late goals. At the 7-2 up, and
Oh,
Romford got a couple late goals. You did see the highlights. Bit of a funny goal, wasn't it, for Romford's first one?
well, yeah, good assist by the keeper. Really good.
It won
Fantastic
that one
assist.
back.
Yes, certainly. In fact, I think Napier did it the week before, didn't he? He did that. He did virtually identical pass.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, when you look at it, I just can't quite believe it.
But
But
when you're in the
hey, these
moment,
things
you
happen.
you do just
Yeah,
panic probably.
yeah. I just wonder whether someone's tapped their stick. It's
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
or just made a call or something. But hey, you can laugh about it when you win the game. That's the key in it. But that's a strong comeback from Peterborough. Tough weekend for Romford.
yeah. It
Um,
is.
they've been flying high. They've got to bounce back this weekend.
Yeah.
And Friday is a fantastic opportunity for them to bounce back, isn't it?
Well, it's not this Friday, it's next Friday, but that would be
Yeah.
a.
I mean,
Oh, I
yeah,
can't wait for that game.
yeah.
Can't wait. That's gonna be one of the games of the season. But shout out,
Mm,
42-year-old Yanni Lackinen,
Yeah.
casually just dropping 5 assists and a goal as well. Some of the
Yeah.
assists, he makes it look easy, and it shouldn't be that easy. You've seen the highlights, Dad. Some of those assists just back to Ferrara. You know Ferrara's going to put it in the net, but you need someone to be able to put it on the stick in the perfect place to make it easy for Ferrara. And
Yeah.
Lakanen just seems to do that. He's a bit like Bissonnette. Plays the game a bit in slow motion, but the best players
Yeah.
can do that, Dan, can't they?
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, he's playing like a 22-year-old. He's not 42, he's 22. Um, but yeah, I mean, you've got it in Leeds. Obviously, I know we said it, it's not always Brown, but you've got it. You've got Brown, Bissonnette,
Mm.
Ferrara, Lackinen. You've got that pair. And obviously,
Mm.
you've also got Huff as well.
Oh,
Obviously, he's a
Yeah.
really good shooter. He's got a sharp
5.9.
Yeah.
shot. Um, so yeah, having Lackanen on that line is pretty much a cheat code because if he
Mm.
when he gets the puck to those two guys, the quality that they've got of shooting,
Mm.
it's sort of it's bound to be a goal at the end of it. And all you need is that guy just to sort of slow the play down, really look for that pass, and then it's just most of the time it'll be an open net for those guys, or it'll be
Mm.
an open
Mm.
shot in the slot, or something like that. And
Mm.
guys of that quality, they'll be loving that. Like they could
Mm.
score goals going through guys, but if they can have an open shot in the slot, they'll be taking it any day, and they'll be able to put it away.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think it's showing from the stats. Cam Huffer's got 12 goals. Ferrara's got 9. And then Lakanen. Let's have a look at Lakanen's assists, shall we? Oh, 14 assists. So it just
Mm.
works. That top line is one of the most deadly lines I think we've seen in the National League. We know how good Cam Huff is as well in front of
Mm.
goal. So yeah, it's a solid win for Peterborough. They've won their last 5 home games now in the league. Again, home advantage just coming up
Mm.
tops this season. It is a tough weekend for Romford. We did say it was going to be their toughest
Mm.
weekend coming into it. Leeds at home, Peterborough away were very hard. So it's a tough weekend, but
Mm.
they were in the games. Maybe not the
Mm.
Peterborough one, but they were in that Leeds one until the last
Mm.
2 minutes. So I don't think they'll be too disappointed, and they're still right up there at the top of the
Mm.
league. So yeah, they'll come back next week. The one we went to then, the Berkshire Bees at home against the Berkshire Bees at home against the Pit Bulls. Coming into this, Dan, we we'll be honest, we don't really see too many fights in Swindon. Luke Johnson did actually drop them with Hardin, fair play, but we were hoping for a physical game between two teams who really need the points, and we got it. Starting with the fight, which wasn't really a fight. Let's talk about that actually, because they both got 5 minutes for fighting. Neither of them got a single punch in, and I know it's the rules when you take your gloves off
Mm.
you're given a 5 minute penalty for fighting. But they have to miss 5 minutes of the game, which they didn't even fight. The refs may as well have let him go to then get up and then fight again, Dan.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like if that was in the NHL, I know we can't really
Yeah.
put it with the NHL, but if that was the NHL, that wouldn't be a penalty. Like it would be a roughing, or it just wouldn't be anything. They'd just say, "All right, guys, move on now." Like it's just
Yeah. Yeah.
it is a bit petty when you look at it. It's like, is that really worth 5 minutes? Like they've literally cuddled each other and gone to the floor. Like is that a
Yeah.
5 minute fighting penalty? Like
Mm.
it's just one of those things. It is annoying, and it would be good if they could sort of maybe change that a little bit. But I mean, I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah. And then before we get on to the actual game, there was one more fight. Josh Kelly. Someone
Good.
put on Twitter they didn't know Josh Kelly was a fighter, but he can drop the gloves down. We've seen him do it a couple times. One little setup punch and then bang. But what I will say is a lot of people are taking the mick out of Cam Hamill. I respect any player who drops the gloves, whether they lose the fight or not, because you've got the balls to drop the gloves in the first place. So even though Cam may have lost that fight, he still dropped the gloves. But it has to be said, it was not too bad punching skills from Josh.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really good fighter. I mean,
Yeah,
I saw him. He had a fight in Basingstoke in Romford. Some
yeah,
of the Romford fans will probably remember it. He had a fight with Ranson.
yeah. Hey,
That
love
was a really
Jacob.
good fight. He battered him as well. We used to call we used to call him Killer Kelly in Basingstoke.
Yeah,
So he's carrying on that name, which is good. But yeah, he's definitely a fighter, and I think any player's a fighter. If they get that bit of buzz, I think
Mm.
any player can be a good fighter. And I think in that moment of play, we were saying you could just sort of feel something was going to happen. Like there was bodies flying, like there was a few hits, like a few nice big hits centre
Yeah,
ice. And then obviously you saw Hamill obviously got a reverse hit, and he was like, right, I'm not having that. Like I'm not going to be humiliated like that. So he dropped
yeah,
the gloves, and like you say, you respect it. Like that's hockey, and
mm,
I mean again, like we said in like episodes before, like it's done now. Like they had that little hit and then had that fight and that was it, and it's
Yeah.
done.
yeah,
And yeah, got to respect both of the guys for that.
And also referees. People criticize the referees a lot. They did so well there. They let the play go on. They let
mm,
they let the hits go because they weren't penalties, the hits. They were just
mm,
big hits. And then they let the fight happen. And I respect that a lot. So big ups to Jarvie and Polton for letting that fight go on. And as you said, Dan, the game then just flowed then, and we saw some really good hockey,
mm.
Dad. And we'll get on to the hockey now, because the main take we kept saying on that night was the bees were missing Balaz a bit too
Yeah,
much, weren't they?
yeah.
Especially when they got those power play opportunities.
Bees had loads of power plays, lots of power plays, sorry, and you just felt that once they controlled it in the Bristol zone, they're just missing something. They're just
Yeah,
missing that connection between Gabai and Ballas, and Ballas just orchestrating a little bit of the play and being in the right place at
yeah.
the right time. Just couldn't do it. And yeah, yeah, that was that. It just didn't quite have that killer instinct. Albeit, okay, they did get a couple of goals, but um, yeah, I think the other thing for me was Harewood. I think again we've mentioned him already, but just when he's going forward, yeah, he's got a couple of players who are with him. It just you just felt something's going to happen
Yeah.
every time he went forward, and you could see him, just searching out the opportunity. Really keen to get up there and make a move. And boy, some of the skill we saw, and some of the assists. I think he got an assist, didn't he? Did
It's
he get an
not
assist
it's
on that
not
game?
on here that he got an assist, but he
I thought he got an
definitely
assist.
did.
Yeah, I thought he got an assist in one of the
Definitely got
goals.
an assist on one of
Um,
the goals, I thought. But yeah,
but
as you said,
yeah,
he is becoming. I know we've watched a lot of Bristol, but he is one of my favorite players to watch. He is so good. One of the most skillful players I think we've got in this league. Dan, shout out to. There's a couple players. I know you want to shout out one, but I'm going to shout out one. Butler. Boy, had a
yeah,
brilliant game. Got 3 assists, and the main one being he fooled me. I said before the game, and I'm going to say this. I think Butler has got an unbelievable slap shot. The amount of power he puts into it, the accuracy that he's got as well. And I said, just shoot, just shoot. He slap passes it straight to Barry McKenzie and has absolutely sat me down because that was the equalising goal. That was some assist, wasn't it? Oh, it was so good.
Yeah, it was a perfect play, and yeah,
mm,
it was like something from the book. It's like they've been training that all week.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, it was a perfect play. Like everything about it was perfect. Obviously, it fooled right, it fooled the D man, and Barry was wide open. Like Barry was wide open on the back door, and he just tapped it in, and yeah, they'll be very happy with that. And I think that just shows what Butler can bring. Like he is a really, really clever D man, and we
mm,
know he's got that shot, but he's also got that eye for a pass as well.
yeah,
And I mean, he's an import D man. Like they're gonna have that IQ and they're gonna see the ice so well. So yeah, if he can keep bringing that consistently for
mm,
Bristol, which he has been this season, he's had quite a good
yeah.
start to the year. If he can keep that up, I think that's a really positive thing for
mm,
Bristol.
The points are coming from as well. He's got 11 points this season, 3 goals as
mm,
well. So and
mm,
his I thought his discipline was a bit better as well.
yeah,
He didn't get many stupid penalties. I don't think he might have got one penalty, but he didn't get
mm,
any silly ones, and he was able to be out there for the full three
yeah,
minutes to kill the game off as well. One player we wanted to shout out, Dad. I'm sure you got a word to say on him as well, Dan, but Josh Paul, coming in,
yeah,
16 years old, obviously on the two-way with the Cardiff Canucks. But I think Gabai is going to struggle
keep hold of them.
to keep him in the Cardiff. I think Gabai is going to want to take him on because he had a really solid game, and I was actually surprised he didn't get the man of the match as well.
Yeah, he did. He got again. He's a young lad, and you could see he hasn't quite got the bulk.
Yeah.
So if he's going in for it, he's going to get pushed around and bounce off. But actually, his assist
Oh,
for was it their second goal or whatever it
second
was,
goal. Yeah.
Yeah, second,
second
yeah.
goal for Boxley was exquisite. It was pinpoint accuracy against Napier, who was playing really well. So yeah, shout out to Paul. Really, really clever play and one to watch, definitely.
He fooled us, didn't he, Dan? Because we
Yeah,
it come across and we all said shoot, shoot it, and
yeah,
then he made the pass across, and then we looked and Wilstead was coming in, and
yeah,
Wilstead got the tapping goal, which is
yeah,
the only way bees were getting past
yeah,
Napier in that game. It was a very, very good assist, and he was probably their standout player for me in terms of surprise talent as well, because we hadn't
yeah,
seen him play before.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, credit to Goodbye, credit to Tate. Again, the youngster, they gave him the opportunity on the top line.
He's on
Like
top,
a
yeah, he's top
16
line.
year old
yeah,
on the top line. At the end of the game, he got onto the second PP line.
Yeah,
I think that's great. Like a 16-year-old coming into the National League. I think it's probably his second game, I think.
yeah,
And
mm,
to get that opportunity, I think that's going to be so good for him.
yeah,
And the fact that he now can go back, he obviously he's going to be training with the Canucks, training with the Bees. The fact he's got that under his belt now, I think that's going to be so good. And talking about that pass, like that's a pass
mm,
you'd expect a Bissonnette, a Lackinen to do.
yeah.
yeah,
Like just slow the play down and look for that pass. You see a lot of youngsters, they get that puck and they'll be like, oh, and
They'll
then they
panic.
shoot,
Yeah.
and they just shoot. But the fact that he literally stopped the play, passed it across. I think, yeah, he's definitely one to watch, and I'll definitely
yeah,
be keeping an eye on him 100%.
It's a bit like Ollie Nags actually. Ollie Nags got a big opportunity last season, and he actually got lots of minutes when they needed him because they had some bodies out. Josh Poole again is another young lad. Balaz being out, getting that chance on the top line, and him taking that chance as well.
Again, as well, that's a perfect team for a guy like that to be
Yeah,
on. Like,
it is.
Bees is a perfect team for that. We saw Ollie Nags last year. He was getting top pair at most points
Yes.
because of their D was really, really like really injured, and obviously they're really thin in D. So he obviously got the top D pair in minutes a lot, and that's shown this season that he's grown as a player and he grew throughout the year. You're gonna have Josh Poole now. Like Bees is just a perfect place for those players to get because they are going to get that ice time and they are going to get that chance to show what they can do. And I mean, that was a perfect game for Paul. And I think, yeah, he's definitely going to turn a lot of heads in that Bees team now. And I think the way that they can work with Vancouver, with the Canucks, not Vancouver Canucks, Cardiff Canucks, but but yeah, the way they can work with that team now, I think they're going to be loving it. And Goodbye, that's the perfect what Goodbye and Tate want from that partnership that they've got with them.
Yeah, coming from playing with JT Miller.
That's it. That's it. I've got the NHL in my
No,
mind.
I said it yesterday. The final game of the weekend then, and this was a shock. This was a very big shock because Telford have struggled a lot this season.
mm,
They've only had one win at home, and that was against Bristol, coming up against a whole team who just dispatched of Sheffield
mm,
8-2, and Telford win 7-5. And they had their backs against it as well because they got the lead and then Hull
mm.
come back in it and then they got the lead again, Telford, and they kept the lead. And to get 7 goals against Hull as well, that's very impressive. Dad, Finley House, I think he probably for his standards he'd probably be disappointed with how he started the season, but this was his
Yeah.
best weekend. We've given him player of the week. He got 4 assists, 2 goals across the weekend, but he
Yeah.
got 2 big goals on that Sunday against Hull. This is what Telford can do when those top guys are on it and clicking.
Yeah, they can, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was a massive, massive win. I mean, Telford have 4 points over that weekend,
Yeah.
which is and they've got some new imports coming in, so
Oh,
the tide might be turning for them as well. So yeah, it was a big win. But again, I just surprisingly sometimes the amount of goals that are going
yeah.
in the games is just it's really. I mean, Swindon did 10 against Telford, and then the following day. What happens? They score a fair few themselves. You just think it's chalk and cheese. with the again you go back to Sheffield, after you get hammered one day and then score a load of goals the next.
I know.
It's yeah, good. Yeah, it was a fantastic win for Telford on the Sunday.
We were
Really
following it
was. Yeah,
along, weren't we? And we were
yeah,
getting
yeah,
notifications. Hull have got it back within one
yeah,
goal. They're gonna equalise surely, and then
yeah.
Telford get a big goal. Shout out. We didn't actually mention
Mm.
it. Shout out Jason Silverthorne. Not
Yeah.
played for 2 years. And he comes into the Telford team, 45 years old. Not played for 2 years. He's coming in, stepping in, obviously for
Mm.
Skaleski, who was injured on Friday, so he played against Swindon. Then he played yesterday, and he got a big assist as well yesterday. So
Mm.
yeah, I don't think Telford fans would have seen that one coming after he got that big injury a couple years ago. So that makes me smile. Seeing Silverthorne back in the
Yeah.
jersey and covering, and that just shows the type of guy he is as well, Dan. We know Jason Silverthorne is a legend of English hockey.
Yeah, 100%. I thought after we saw the news of Silverthorne, we'd see the news of Dougie Clarkson coming back, getting the line back
Oh,
together.
mate.
Um, but yeah, I mean, that's a big. I mean, yeah, having a guy like that on your bench is perfect for obviously team around. The fact that probably short notice as well, obviously with
Yeah.
the Skaleski thing, obviously he wasn't going to be expecting it. Obviously, he would have been obviously like keeping himself in shape and stuff because he is an athlete. Obviously, used to be an athlete, and he's still around the game. So it's not. It would have been a shock for him though. Like coming into
Mm.
this league, it's changed a lot. Obviously, probably back when he was playing, obviously in the EPL days, it is a bit of a downgrade. But at the same time, it's still physical. And coming into this
Mm.
is never. It's not easy to come into this league, and especially in such short notice, like I said. And yeah, having a guy like that that's happy to lace them up anytime you need him, I think that's yeah.
Mm.
Again, it shows a lot about who he is and the character that he's got, and
Mm.
the love that he's got for Telford as well.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's such short notice for coming in and playing. So fair
Yeah.
play to Silverthorne, and he'll be back on the bench as well. So he won't have to worry about his legs going forward. But yeah, looking ahead to next weekend then. Only the 10 games this weekend. Obviously, we had 12 the weekend just gone. The Bees at home against Hull. It'll be interesting because I think the last time Hull played there, I think was the game we saw where
Yeah,
Bees
we were
beat.
at it.
Oh
Yeah.
no, no, sorry, they did beat him in playoffs, but the last league game. So be interesting to see if Balaz is back. I think they do need Balaz.
Mm.
He is vital to that team. He is so vital, especially because this is why it's so vital, Dan, is because they've got the import Netty, which means they are reliant so much on Gabai and Balaz because there's only two out front then.
Mm.
So he is very important. And then it's the big one. I'm actually not that nervous. I'm more excited. It's Milton Keynes against Swindon. Can Swindon be the team to stop their run? Obviously, we did beat them in the playoffs. And I think without blowing our tyres too much or pumping our tyres, Dad, we have given Milton Keynes some tough games at their place, especially
Mm.
last season, obviously in the Cup. I mentioned this in the car. In the Cup, got it to overtime. They beat us in overtime, and then we did
Mm.
beat them in playoffs. I think it's gonna be a battle, isn't it?
It's going to be a really good battle. I think one of the things with MK is confidence for them. Winning away from home in Bristol. So we talked about them last week. Those are the games last season where they may have dropped points, and then again in Leeds they've
Yeah.
not dropped points. And the depth of squad that they have. They're running four lines, I think, aren't they? They're running four lines.
All lines with an
Um,
extra as well if they need to.
yeah, four lines with an extra. There's not many teams who can do that, and I think on their pad that will be a massive advantage for them. But we bigged up some of the young boys in Swindon, and actually a big. This is probably the first time we're on the big ice, I think.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah,
So again, this could be a real opportunity. Again, we've seen the speed and the difference in our third line. That could be a big
yeah,
play in Milton Keynes. It's going to be ifs and buts, isn't it?
yeah. I, I
Yeah,
mean, I'm
it's
just
going
so
to be a
excited
corker.
to see. I'm so excited to see Wellesley on that big ice
Britnell
rink.
as
Jake
well.
as well. he could
Mm,
thrive in that big game, the big moment.
mm,
And obviously Tom Ash as well. It's going to be a great game. Dylan Lawrence always has a good game against
mm,
Swindon in Milton Keynes. So I'm buzzing for it. I know Milton Keynes fans are really excited, and it's looking like it's going to be close to a sellout as well. So it's going to be an unbelievable game, and just two teams going at it. I know me and Charlie and Dan, we have the banter with Milton Keynes, but they are just such good games. We
mm,
can't wait for that. And if you see us in Milton Keynes, make sure to say hello. Solway against Romford again. I think that's another
mm.
really big game. Solway getting that win last week will be big momentum for them. Bristol against Telford. Wow. If the new Telford imports are here,
Yeah.
this is quite a comfortable game for them to come into against Bristol. But Napier, we love Napier. We've been a massive fan of him since he's come in. We love that how high he's gone in his career, and he had his best game, didn't he, on Sunday? And if he's got these two new Telford guys coming in, the, it's not going to be hard to. It's not going to be easy to get past Napier, is it? If the defense protects him.
Yeah, 100%. Oh yeah, we are a big fan of Napier.
Oh, we love
I
him.
think we had one night where we literally looked at his whole career and we
Oh,
were just looking through what he's done. And I think obviously I'm going to point it out, but he got best NCAA goalie one year. Like that is huge. Obviously NCAA is such a good league, and obviously all of the best NHLers come from the NCAA and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I thought I'd point it out, but um, yeah, I mean, he's going to have that win now. It's his first win. He's had some tough
Mm,
games, obviously the penalty shootout losses and stuff like that.
mm,
So I think that's going to be a really big thing for him as well. Obviously, he's going to have that momentum again, and he's going to sort of he looked happier in
mm,
Slough last night. He looked a lot happier. He was having a bit of a joke around with the refs throughout the game as well. And I think yeah, when the game's going your way, you just know it. And for a goalie, like the mental side of the game is so big. And yeah, to go into this game as well, I think Nappy's going to seem really confident in the pipes,
mm,
and it's going to be a matter of who can have the best chances and obviously who can save the best shots as well.
yeah.
So
Defenses are going to be key in this game.
mm.
Who's going to protect their goalie the most? Leeds Knights against the Steel Dogs. Another northern battle. Sheffield against Milton Keynes on the Sunday. You've got Hull against the Bees. Peterborough against Solway, Telford against Romford, and then you've got Swindon versus Bristol, the good old Southern derby as well. So there is actually, sorry, I just mentioned this. It's already tempting me here. There are some midweek games next week. The week after, sorry, Dan. Tuesday night, Sheffield against Hull. Wednesday night, Telford against Peterborough. I think that is a definite for me. I think I'm going to be going to that one. And then Friday night is Romford against MK. So we've got some to look forward to next
Mm.
week if I want to make some hockey trip. I don't know if people have noticed, but I've tried to get to as many games as I can. I'm yeah, very obsessed with hockey at the moment. But yeah, anyway, I'm going on a tangent. That is everything. That is the week wrapped up.
Mm,
A lots to talk about. I think this is probably over an hour, easily. So if you've made it this far, thank you very much. We've kept the hats on as well
mm.
the whole episode, and Charlie will be back next week as well. So yeah,
Ooh.
we might still get you on, Dad, actually, because it's nice to have you on as well. So if you've liked this episode, please drop it a like. We'll try and get some player interviews. I've spoke to a few players who are willing to come on. We just got to find the time to get them on. And I know Charlie wants to come on an interview as well. So we're waiting for Charlie to come back. So anything else to add? Nope.
Mm, no, not from
No,
me.
all good. I think we've spoken enough. So yeah, make sure to give us a like, follow all our socials at Max Talk Hockey, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Take it easy.